Last month, Reverend K. Morishita delivered an amazing sermon. And I have been passed the baton for this month, and I hope I can come even somewhat close to what Kay delivered. Once, Reverend Kay told me that before her husband Jiro passed, he told her to look for him in butterflies. I always looked up to him, and that statement landed in my heart. Fast forward to the day that I was to meet my future father-in-law for the first time. I was in Tendi after finishing up as an instructor for Shuyoka, the spiritual development program. That morning, I was already scheduled to give a talk at my friend's church in Kyoto. Initially, I was very excited to go and give the talk, but once I met my soon-to-be wife and was to meet her father that day, I was not as excited to go. All I wanted to do was focus on meeting my father-in-law. However, I took a train to Kyoto, and my friend met me at the station and took me to his church. As I got out of the car and started walking toward the gate, there were many, many butterflies flying around in the bush to the left of the gate. They were blue butterflies. I knew that Jiro was telling me that everything was going to be fine. That talk went well, we had lunch, and my friend dropped me off at the train station to go back to Tendi. I was back in the mode of just focusing on my meeting with my father-in-law. I was a bit excited, but a little anxious as well. When I arrived at Tendi Station, I went down to the underground bicycle parking lot to pick up my bike. This is a completely concrete structure without any vegetation whatsoever. As I was pushing my bike up the ramp, a blue butterfly flew up from behind me, which was also the inside of the parking lot, and started flying next to me. The butterfly then landed on my handlebars as I was pushing the bicycle up. It stayed there for a while before it flew off. I knew that it was further reassurance from Jiro that everything was going to be fine. I hope this sermon can be that blue butterfly for you who may be going through something a bit anxious at this time in your life. So, what are we doing here? We are human beings living on this earth. Oya-sama taught us that the purpose of our life is to live a joyous life. This is why in our faith, we are always talking about moving towards a joyous life world. We are all brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of God the Parent. Both my son and daughter play basketball. My daughter was playing on a particular club team, which has tournaments regularly. A little after one of the games got underway, my daughter Kailani, who had been sitting on the bench, suddenly came over to us. The game had started, but she had not played at all yet. She was covered in sweat and had a very distressed look in her eyes. She said that she was not feeling well, and I asked her, "What does not feel well?" She said that she did not know. But she just wanted to go to the car. She was almost in a panic, and she had fear in her eyes. She was having a full-on anxiety attack. She had been thinking about what was going to happen if she did something wrong. One of her coaches was a yeller, and not in a good way. She would yell at the kids when they made a mistake, get quite upset, even berate them. When I realized what had been transpiring in her mind, I felt really bad. I am her father, and I'm supposed to protect her, but instead, I had placed her in a situation that was causing her mental anguish. That was the last game that she played with the team. In fact, we did not have her go back to any of the practices either. Initially, she wanted to play on that team because she had a friend there. She just wanted to have fun and learn a bit more basketball along the way. Kalani was not having any fun at all. The coach was attempting to teach her and the other girls how to play basketball, but did it in such a way that was very negative. Kalani was more worried about making a mistake and thus causing her to be anxious and not play well at all when she actually got into the game. I'm not trying to vilify the coach. There was a large turnover in personnel for these girls' teams, and now I knew why. However, there was always a group of girls who stayed and still played well. For them, they did not take the same actions of the coach so negatively. Some probably did not let it bother them at all. There was a different conversation going on in their minds than that of my daughters. What happens on the outside matters, but what matters even more is what you say on the inside. God, the parent, gave us free use of our minds to use as we wish. There are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who believe they can, and those who believe they cannot. Here's the thing, though. They're both right. The conversation that goes on in our mind is the only thing that matters in terms of our experience of life. When people talk about reality, it's only about their interpretation of how things are. One person may say, "There is always so much work to do. I hate it." Another who may work with that same person may say, "There is always so much work to do. I love it because they will always need me." Maybe the second person had an experience of getting fired or losing their job, and maybe even more than once. We all have life experiences. That's called our past. Most of us are not living in our now, present life. We are living in the past. The thing is, we are living from our negative past. Instead of creating our life into the future that we want, we live with the negative past as a ball and chain strapped to our ankles. We get emotionally hurt, so in order not to experience that again, we create ways of being that supposedly protect us from that past. For example, we get our heart broken by somebody as a teenager. And because that hurts so much, we put up a figurative wall around our heart. We do not allow people to get too close, otherwise we could get hurt again. The irony is that love is so important to us, which is why it hurts so much in the first place. Yet, it gets worse, because we are the kind of person that really wants love. But since we chose to put up a wall around our heart, we do not let people in fully. If you do not let other people in fully, how can you get true and deep love? You cannot, because you are not letting people in completely. How do you think the other person feels? Again, that's all the past, where you're putting your past into the present and having it get in the way of what you truly want in your life. If you keep doing this, the future will only be more of the past. If you want change, you have to change. There's no way around it. We often get upset with people in our lives because we believe that they should have done this or that, or have done things in this way or that way. You want them to change. Then there would not be any problems. Well, the biggest mistake about that is that you think that you should not have problems. The reality is that the problems that come about in your life are opportunities for you to grow. They come into your life only when you are ready for them. Life does not happen to you. It happens for you. You are the only one who can define anything in your life. It's when you can appreciate all that comes about in your life, whether most may view them as good or bad, that you start to live life joyously. That's called tanno. Tanno is the joyous acceptance of the things in your life. When you look at the challenges that come about in your life as great opportunities, then your mind becomes more spirited. Oya-sama taught us, buds sprout from knots. The Shimbashira writes in instruction 4, she, Oya-sama, encouraged those around her by saying that whatever happens is God's arrangement for guiding people to spiritual maturity. I'd like to share a little story. There was a mother who was noticing that her 3-year-old son was scratching his head from time to time as he was playing with his toys. He kept scratching enough that she became curious. She had him come to her as she started checking his scalp. To her horror, she could not see his scalp at all because his head was covered in eggs, almost like a helmet. To make things worse, when she was going through his hair, one of the bugs actually crawled out of the hair and onto his forehead. She screamed. How many of you could actually feel that too? Because it gives me the itch just thinking about it. How many of you got goosebumps? It does not matter if this story is real or not, but thinking about it actually has your body produced the feelings in your body. This is how powerful your mind is. Forget about the past that makes you feel bad, and instead, live the future of how you actually want your life to be. Are you happy? If not, why not? You have a mind that can think about anything you want. Think thoughts that make you happy. Appreciate all that happens in your life as an opportunity that God the Parent and Oya-sama have given you. If you are not happy, do something about it. There's a chiropractor acquaintance of mine who lives down in Australia. He also does coaching and keynote speeches. He is someone who chooses to do something about it. He has some business cards which simply read, "Expect a miracle." He does not have his contact information or anything like that on it. He would give these cards away to any and everyone. One time, he was traveling and he was at the airport. After he had checked in, he went to one of the restaurants in the airport. The chiropractor went to the counter, ordered his food, and then, like he does quite often, he handed his card to the woman taking his order. She got a bit excited and started to call a number of her colleagues to come out from the back of the kitchen. They looked at the card and got excited. The chiropractor proceeded to give cards to every single worker. They all started smiling and laughing and were having a good time. There was one other customer in the restaurant, and he observed all this and was curious about what was going on. He asked the chiropractor and was promptly given a card. They sat together and spent some time talking and eating before going their respective ways to their gates. A few weeks later, the chiropractor received an email from the man in the restaurant. They had exchanged information along with the Expect a Miracle card. The man proceeded to write, "That night when we met at the airport, you saved my life." See, my wife had died over a year ago, and no matter what I did, I was miserable. However, when I saw what that one card did for all those workers, and how excited they got, I just had to see what you were about. You gave me hope. You gave me joy. That day, I was going back home after I had gotten all my things in order. I was going to go home and take a gun to my head and end it all. The pain of being without my wife was too much. However, meeting you shifted something within me. That joy that you brought to those workers who were strangers was amazing. You saved my life. The chiropractor was extremely grateful for the email, but even more so for having been able to serve a purpose for that man. Here's another story which is not quite as dramatic, but to me, it was quite a miracle in itself. One night when I was a chairman of the Young Men's Association here in the US and Canada, I was talking to a young man who actually lives in San Mateo near San Francisco. Our association used to have little barbecues and gatherings on the Saturday nights before the mission headquarters monthly service right across the street at the East Hall. We would do various things, but the main thing was just to get together. So as I was talking to this young man, Roger, not his real name, he introduced me to a friend of his that he had brought from San Francisco. We'll call him Jerome. They were both about 20 years old. As Jerome and I started talking, his eyes suddenly lit up. And he said, "I know you. You saved my life." I thought, what is he talking about? He continued, "You used to talk to me all the time in Japantown. Thank you so much." Then I recognized him. So I spent a lot of time in the Japanese American community in San Francisco. There were many events where children would go and have a good time. Some of these events included Children's Day, Cherry Blossom Festival, Nihonmachi Street Fair, and the like. Many times I saw Jerome there. Most of the time I would also see his mother leaving him in a particular area and giving him instructions and the like. He would often look at his mother with only a half-listening face, if he would look at her at all. Most of the time, she would walk off a bit disgusted, as he would not show her much respect and would seem to be mostly annoyed. He must have been about 8 or 9 years old when I first started seeing him around the community. I guessed that his mother was a single mother and was having tough times connecting with her son. After she would walk away, I would often explain to Jerome what his mother meant by what she said. I also told him how I could tell how much she cares about him. She always wanted him to be safe and wanted him to have a good time. He would look at me without a smile, probably thinking, who the heck is this guy? I did not even know if he was listening to me or not, but it did not matter. I made it a point to keep talking to him whenever I saw him, and I would actually see him quite a bit. I would ask how he was doing, and he would often not reply. However, that one Saturday night, across the street at the East Hall, he told me that he used to listen to what I said, and it helped him understand his mother and her viewpoint. He told me that it saved his life, and I said, that's just an exaggeration. But either way, he was extremely happy. Not only was he extremely happy, but I was extremely happy. Here we were, 400 miles away from home, here at Tennikyo Mission headquarters, and we happened to meet again. He was now an adult. I had no idea if that little kid that I used to talk to so often ever listened to what I was saying, or if he just found me annoying. However, I knew that he did not understand his mother and how difficult it was for her. So I just kept talking to him. I knew he needed to hear it, so I just kept at it. Most of the time, as I talked, he would not even look at me, and still I kept talking. You never know when God the parent and Oya-sama will put people in front of you so that they, God the parent and Oya-sama, can work through you. I was ecstatic. I was extremely thankful that they had used me as their vessel. This is the middle of August in 2025. There is barely half a year left before the 140th anniversary of Oya-sama. We all have unique gifts and tools that we can share that can be to the benefit of others. Let us be the timbers of God the Parent and Oya-sama and help this world into the joyous life world. The Shinbashira-sama states in Instruction 4, God the Parent will accept our true sincerity and provide free and unlimited workings accordingly. Let us bring out the joy that we have inside ourselves and pass it on as a baton to those around us. Let us be the butterfly that brings reassurance to others that all is going to be well. Be the miracle that you are and share yourself with our brothers and sisters to create the joyous life world. Thank you very much for your kind attention.